3, 2, 1. Boop. All right. Hi there. My name is Damon Bell. This is interview number 3. This one goes out to dedicated to a special friend of mine, Casey Murphy. It's for you, bud. So, Casey wanted me to discuss some of my junior high years. So I'll just start with very first day of junior high, Lincoln Junior High School. And I was in PE class, and there was a person trying to go into the girls' locker room. And a person I've known since kindergarten goes up to her and says, I don't think you're in the right bathroom or going to the right locker room. Are you a boy or a girl? I'd never met this person before. I didn't know who this person was. Didn't go to grade school with me, but I'd known Janie for quite a long time. And I went to her and said, "Hey man, why are you being so shitty to this new kid?" And I may have mentioned the word bitch. I don't remember, but needless to say, they backed off and started talking to this new kid at school, and hell, we were basically best friends from then on. And it was quite a ride. Very good friends for a lot of years. Still friends now. I'll go over some of the specific incidents we got up to. I think it was 7th or 8th grade. Casey's mom worked at a computer place here in town, and they would always get, I think they had like season tickets to the Dallas Cowboys games, and they gave us their tickets for the Thanksgiving game. And we drove up there in the back of their Firebird, I think it was. Maybe a Camaro. I think it was a Firebird, Trans Am, whatever. So here's the two of us sitting in this tiny ass little back seat, and it was Casey's mom and the mom's friend. I think his name was Josh, one of her coworkers. And I remember we bitched the whole time about them smoking. As I'm a smoker, stupid, I know. And we bitched and bitched and bitched. Roll the window down. It smells like smoke in here. And then they'd roll the window down, and it's Thanksgiving. Oh my God, it's cold. Roll the window up. And we were just back and forth, begging for the window to be down, begging for it to be open or closed up again. We had a lot of fun in the Dallas area. We stayed at somebody's apartment. I don't really remember, but I do remember walking around the Dallas area, late at night. I think we found some dirty magazine laying on the ground and called one of the 800 or 900 numbers in the back. If you remember those, that's how old I am. That's how old we are. And of course they asked for a credit card number, and we didn't know anything about credit cards. We didn't have credit cards. We weren't modern kids. We just made up some numbers and, well, thank you, Mr. Johnson. Well, we're placing your call now. Oh crap! And we got all scared and hung up the phone. And I think we may have, I'll say, accidentally broken off a car hood emblem, hood ornament. We were a bit troublesome back then. There was a few overpasses in the area around Casey's house, and we would go, walk up them. Hell, we explored all over, just marching around town. We would go hang out up in these overpasses and just sit there and talk. And one of them was all covered in what I'm pretty sure is just red paint, but it was a bunch of devil signs and 666s and crap like that. And everybody always told us it was actual blood. All that crap was painted on with blood. Pretty sure it wasn't, but from the age of 13 to about 15, I was in an Air Force auxiliary group called Civil Air Patrol, and we met on base, kind of like ROTC, but a lot more fun. I think we actually got to go partake and participate in search and rescue stuff and fly airplanes. And so here, we thought we were total military people. Casey's mom was actually in the Army, I believe, and so between the two of us, we had quite a bit of military experience, in our opinion. And so a lot of times we'd be wearing our BDUs, our battle dress uniforms, and there was a drainage tunnel right in the middle of the highway, and we crawled in there in our BDUs, boots, and army hat and all that crap, and had our day packs with us, with canteens and a little P-38 can opener, and we crawled into this, not a sewer tunnel, but like a storm drain, right in the middle of the highway, and we crawled up all these tunnels and tubes and stuff for, it felt like hours, on your hands and knees. Some of them might have been on our bellies. It was so tight. We finally came to kind of an opening and busted out our MREs. That's a meal ready to eat. Had a little shitty P-38 can opener that I'd never used. I'm not sure I ever actually figured out how to do it right. We opened up, a can of whatever we had and ate lunch there in this freaking sewer drain. The plan was to keep crawling, probably northwesternish, and we would have ended up under Levi Strauss, which it's closed now. It's now a community college. But it occurs to me now, if there had been any kind of rain, we probably would have drowned. But the thing I remember most is we marched back to Casey's house, and we tracked mud into the house on our boots, and Casey's mom flipped out. Oh God, she was mad about that. It was quite humorous. Big shout out to Casey. Casey's the one who turned me on to Star Trek and computers. I was, I'd seen Star Wars. I'd probably seen a couple of the Star Trek movies. Probably the one with the whales. That's the one most people my age remembered. But we ended up forming an entire Star Trek community at Lincoln, called it the Lincoln Empire of Trekkies and Trekkers. Casey had me memorize all the names of the movies and all the characters, names, and then got me into Star Trek Next Gen, and it spiraled from there. Oh my God, I'm a huge Star Trek fan. I'm not going to show you, but I have a couple of uniforms in my closet, and I have my computer room is entirely filled with Star Trek stuff. Maybe I'll go film that stuff later, just for Casey's sake. And like I said, also, Casey got me big into computers. Casey was great with computers. Might be considered a hacker. I don't know. White hat, black hat, you tell me. I don't know. But something that's always stuck with me. And I'm very, very, very proud of that fact. That I've stuck with the Star Trek and the computers, and Casey definitely has. Back to Civil Air Patrol, had a lot of fun with that. Two of my best friends were kind of got me into it. Daniel and Brian Fedor, brothers, obviously. Their mom was best friends with my mom from the time they were little kids, and so we were kind of destined to be friends. And Brian had been in it for a few years. He was a little older than us. Fantastic model maker. I mean, airplane models. He had an Apache helicopter and I think an SR-71 Blackbird. I mean, they looked like you could put a tiny person in there and the son bitch would just fly off. It looked fantastic. Better than any models I ever made. Mine were covered in glue and usually not painted because it was too much work. And God, Brian's were just fantastic. There was one guy in it with us named Staudenmeyer. He was your classical dork. Nice guy, good guy. We were standing in formation once, and he kept talking or asking questions and basically getting us in trouble. So I raised my hand. Sir, permission to adjust. Permission granted. And I reached out and kicked him right in the ass. Probably said, shut up, you're getting us in trouble. And I actually did not get in trouble for that. I totally should have. Not saying he didn't deserve a swift kick in the butt, but, violence is never the answer. In theory. Had a lot of fun at Civil Air Patrol. I never got promoted because I refused to do any of the physical training stuff. I hated to run. I still hate to run. I've never liked running, but you had to do push-ups and running in a certain amount of time, and a certain amount to get promoted, and I just ended up staying with the group so long I became the cadet commander because nobody else did any of the physical stuff either. The testing part of the Air Force knowledge of it was all pretty easy. But anyway, we had a lot of fun in that. We got an airplane right about the time I was getting ready to get out of that stuff. And we went and did a couple flights to Sonora and back. And flying an airplane, there's just nothing else like it in the world. Kind of like being a musician, being on stage. There's just nothing like it. Flying an airplane is way easier than flying a car because there's not traffic around you, not enough to worry about. And you can just let go of the stick, and it'll pretty much keep flying if it's trimmed right. It's easy as hell, fun as hell. They sent us to a training thing up in Colorado once, and so a C-130 aircraft landed here at Mathis Field in San Angelo, and we boarded up. And first thing I remember is the smell of the burning jet fuel. It was awesome, sweet smell. It was great. So we load up in this C-130, and there's 40, 50 of us maybe from all different other flights of other groups around Texas, I guess, maybe the country. I'm not really sure where they were all from. Anyway, so we're flying. And this one oldest guy who was just about to age out, he's about 17 or 18. He kept holding his stomach and looking like he was, just green at the gills, getting ready to puke. And he finally starts puking. He's thrown up into this barf bag, and after he's done, he kind of sits back and like, man, I feel so much better now, but now I'm hungry. He tips the barf bag back and starts drinking it. And that caused instantly at least 5 people on the plane to lose their lunch. What they didn't know, I was sitting close to the guy. He had a can of Campbell's mushroom soup in his coat pocket that he had dumped into the barf bag before he started this whole charade. So he was just eating mushroom soup, but nobody, only a couple people on the plane, including me, knew about that. It was hilarious at the time. Probably sucked for whoever had to clean up the airplane when we got to the Air Force Academy in Colorado. And that weekend we went up on a mountain somewhere. We spent the night at the academy, and it was cool. It's a great campus. Again, you have to run everywhere you go, so that I would not have been interested in that. But beautiful campus, cool church and everything. The church looked like an electric, like a hair shaver blade. It was crazy. We went up into these mountains to do search and rescue training, and I think I was in the purple flight or something with a bunch of guys I'd never met before. And the first day we were just the worst. We couldn't do anything right. We never found the person we were supposed to be finding using a compass and directions and stuff, and it was horrible. We were just the worst. But by the end of the 2 or 3 days we were there, we ended up winning. We found the next day we found our dying person within a few minutes, and did everything properly to bandage them up, first aid, triage kind of stuff, and put all our coats together and buttoned them together and brought the person into safety, and ended up winning the competition for whatever kind of a competition I guess you could call it. And it was a lot of fun. If you have the chance to, if you're between 13 and 18, I would highly suggest joining Civil Air Patrol. It is a lot of fun. Teach you a lot. Try to be active and actually get promoted in it. It's a lot of fun. It's good for kids. At one point, we had gone out to do some model rocket flying. We went out to Brian and Daniel's house, actually, and all the senior members there were with us. They were actual Air Force members. They all had high officer ranks. Turns out they were all sergeants. They were all so proud of being lieutenants and captains and colonels. Every one of them was a friggin' sergeant. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it just cracked me up how they were so high and mighty, and they actually weren't all that high and mighty. Anyway, talking about Daniel, I spent quite a bit of time with him growing up. We actually smoked, I think, our first cigarette together. I know it was my first cigarette. He used to borrow them from his mom, and he would hide them in a teddy bear. Sorry, Daniel, I'm totally rolling on you, snitching you out. I know that wouldn't be the first time, right? All right. And yeah, that was the first time I ever smoked a cigarette. Was out there in Miles, I think, or outside of Miles. Or he had got us a moped at some point, and it was a hunk of junk. It had like a rock or something stuck in the engine, so every time you turn it on, it wouldn't run for more than a couple of minutes. But every time his stepdad would come home with his 18-wheeler, we'd use the blowgun in that and somehow blow the engine out. It would kind of move the rock to a different part of the engine, and it would run for 5-10 minutes. And it was just the shittiest moped in the world. In junior high, sixth grade, I started in band, a jazz band. Well, not jazz band yet, but started off in band with Mr. Bodie as the kind of overall Lincoln Junior High band director. But Mr. Chance, the band director at Lakeview, he would come and teach the brass students, so we'd kind of split up into two groups. Boy, I learned a lot from both those guys. Mr. Bodie, if you ever hear of the West Texas Jazz Orchestra, get a chance to go hear them here, especially around San Angelo. Fantastic group. He is an amazing drummer. Shitty at the bagpipes. Horrible at bagpipes. Hopefully he's better now than he was when I was in sixth grade, but it sounded like he was killing a goose with his bare hands. It was just the worst. Eventually, I think that next year, Mr. Henry took over, Stephen Henry, and that guy changed my life. I mean, I enjoyed band under Mr. Bodie and Mr. Chance, but Mr. Henry, boy, he really made you love band. I mean, it changed my whole life, really. He would give me a ride home every day after school, and over the course of the first few weeks, I'd say, oh, hey, that's where Dylan lives, and oh, that's where this other guy lives, and this is this street and that street. And for the next 2 years, every single day when he would drop me off, he would say, oh, by the way, that's where Dylan lives, and that's where so and so lives, and this is that, and he would repeat the exact same sentence that I told him about that first day's stuff. Sometimes we'd get all the way to the house. He said, oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to tell you, back there, that's where Dylan lived, and that. He'd do the whole spiel every single time, and it was so dumb and annoying, but it was super, super funny too. So stupid. I stuck to band because sports was just not my thing. I had done soccer. The soccer stories I could tell you are horrible. I think I talked about them a little bit with my brother in that other interview. But I was not a sports guy. I ended up playing football for the YMCA, and I was the only one on the team with a brand new helmet, so everybody wanted to headbutt me, which sucked. Plus, I got these big old goofy ears. I've kind of grown into them now, but the first day of practice, I couldn't get my helmet off. It was just too tight with my big ears, and so they ended up giving me an old 70s looking helmet, just the 1 or 2 bars like a kicker would wear. And it was, I was just the worst. I didn't know anything about football. I'd watch the Cowboys, but I didn't really pay attention. I just say, yeah, go Cowboys, whatever. And so I had no clue. I was the worst. So that next year, I ended up playing football at Lincoln. And again, I was the worst. They tried to make me a receiver, but I only ever made one catch. And that's because the coach, Logbag, just drilled me right in the stomach with it. And I had no choice but to catch it, that or die. And said, hey, great, you made the catch. You're going to be a receiver. Dude, no, this sucks. I hate running. I'm not good at catching with my hands. This is not me. So they ended up, after proving how bad I was at playing receiver, they ended up putting me at center. And I tell you what, I never fumbled the ball once. But as soon as I'd hike the ball and make sure the quarterback had it, I would stand up and I looked like a lemur. I had no idea, or a meerkat. I had no idea what I was doing. I'd just stand there and watch. Okay, now what? Is the play over? What do I do? Nobody told me until years later. Just go hit somebody, on the other team. Just go hit somebody. I didn't know anything about blocking or any of that crap. Like I said, I was the friggin' worst. So that's after that. The first after winter, when football season was over, I got the hell out of there. I got into tennis. So Coach Schneider. A lot of people called him Coach Corndog. I don't know why. It was really bizarre. But I wasn't much better at tennis, but I actually enjoyed that. Not nearly as much running. If it was just about 5 feet either direction. Brian Wheeler, one of my best friends then, he was amazing at tennis. He could do the spin serve, all that stuff. He ended up going on into playing all the way through Lakeview. Him and a couple other guys stuck with it, and they were fantastic. I just go out there just to volley. I wasn't any good at it. But that was a sport that my whole family could play, and we'd all go out, to tennis court in the area, and we'd play, and my sister and brother and father and mother and everything, and we'd just have fun and occasionally get a little crazy. And anytime you'd hit the ball too hard to go over the fence, and you had to go get it, because we only had so many, and the whole family started singing na 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 na, hey 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 goodbye. Great song. I don't have a clue who sings it, but hopefully this won't get a copyright strike just for that. A lot of fun, good times. Um, as I had mentioned with Casey and the Civil Air Patrol thing, we would sometimes wear our uniforms to school. Once we did it for an actual, like a recruiting thing. We'd hand out programs for Civil Air Patrol. But sometimes we just did it because it made us stand out from everybody else, and it felt kind of good. And a guy named Josh, and I don't want to mention his last name, the okay dude, he we were in science class with Coach Logback, the receivers coach. Good science teacher. I did not, anyway. And he said, well, I guess that proves, that they do let gays in the military. And the whole class just friggin' lost it. Even Coach Logback laughed, and he said, dude, I'm sorry, Damon, but that really was pretty damn funny. I was pretty pissed off at the time, but looking back, it was pretty damn funny. And I don't hold it against Coach Logback or Josh. It was pretty damn funny. I remember once there's a big friggin' guy named Mondo I went to school with, only for a year or two, I think. Big old kid, way bigger than the rest of us. And he called Coach Logback by his first name during football practice one day. And the coach went up to him, kind of reached down, picked him up, put him over his head, and body slammed him. And this kid was probably 250, maybe, I don't know weights. And he, don't you ever call me by my first name. And man, it scared the hell out of me. I was super impressed. It was funny as hell. I mean, this guy was kind of a gangster, I think, and he was like a rag doll compared to Coach Logback. And Coach Logback was about as big around as my pinky. He looked like a tiny guy. But one other weird thing about Coach Logback, he loved Spam. He was obsessed with it. He would make do hangman, quiz kind of things. And the answer was always Spam. He had a can on his desk. It was his favorite thing in the world. Deathly afraid of snakes, but loved Spam. It was really, really friggin' weird. One of my buddies in Lincoln, a guy named Chantel, huge, tall kid. I mean, big bone kid, thick kid, great guy, friendliest guy you'll ever meet in the whole world. He was black, and most people in Lincoln were white. And this one kid, Andrew, and some of his kind of redneck friends were picking on him one day out in the kind of the, I guess you'd call it the quad if this was college. Just kind of the open area in between all the other buildings. And all these kids had him surrounded, and they were about ready to start, fighting him, I guess, just for the simple reason that he was black. And I didn't really know this kid that well, but I considered him a buddy or a friend. And I went up, I kind of pushed through the crowd and stood there next to Chantel and said, "What the hell are you picking on this guy for? He hasn't done anything to you." I said, "Either stop messing with him, or you're gonna have to go through me to get to him." I've never been in a fight. Well, I've been in one fight in my life and got my ass kicked. So I was not really prepared for what could have happened that day, but they all backed off and went to class, and me and Chantel were good buddies. I'll tell the second half of his story when I do the fourth video about my high school years. But Chantel's still here in town, supervises, manages a restaurant, and he's still a damn good guy. Our government teacher, history teacher named Mr. Costello. Funny guy, man. Great teacher. It was the honors class, and he was a hoot. He had called me a potty mouth once, but I didn't understand what he said, and I thought he said Podewelts for whatever, and so I started calling him Mr. Podewelts. And he never could understand why I was calling him that, but I never understood why he called me that in the first place, even though he actually called me a potty mouth. Great teacher. We would do, weird skits and stuff. Since it was the honors class, they gave us a little bit of leeway, more so than the regular classes. And at one point, for some reason, the class had nominated me to put on a dress and an old lady wig, and I have no idea what the assignment was, but I was the one that was picked, and so I was wearing all this drag stuff and heels and everything. And he gave me a note. He said, "Hey, run this down to Mr. Skinner or whoever it was down the hall." So here I am wearing drag. I'm walking down the halls at Lincoln, and I give this teacher this note. The teacher just starts laughing his ass off, and hands me back the note and says, "All right, go back to class." And I think either I read the note on the way back, or Mr. Costello told me what it was, but it was just, "Hey, look at this dumbass in drag." That's all the note said. It's bizarre as hell. Funny guy. Love you, Mr. Costello. You were a great teacher. Kind of a pain in my ass and a bit of a podewelts, but hey, whatever. You're a good dude. In sixth grade, at the end of the school year, we had a big band pool party at Brown Swimming Pool, and it was great. All the band orchestra kids there. And the one thing that I really remember more than anything, there was this one girl. She was probably the most filled out girl in all the sixth grade music program. I didn't even know her name. I don't think. To this day, I don't know her name. But she wore a plaid bathing suit, and it turns out when you get plaid wet, or at least that material, it turns completely see-through. And there were a lot of sixth grade boys that day that kind of became men. It was quite eye-opening for us. It was one of that's one of my favorite memories today. We also had a lot of dances, not really like Sadie Hawkins stuff, but just different school dances, Valentine's Day, Christmas dance, whatever. And Casey, another one for you. You'd always bust out with the Running Man. I'm not even going to try to do it because no, but you were great at the Running Man. It was fantastic. A lot of good memories from junior high. A lot of good memories. So I'm a huge band nerd, and it was. I think Casey didn't ever get into band. Or she did was like one semester and played baritone or something. Like, come on, trumpets. You got to play trumpet. But at least it was brass. But it was had a lot of good times. Remember when we went and rode Mickey's four-wheeler out from Intertel, out cruising around. I'm surprised we didn't kill ourselves. I'm sure we weren't wearing helmets. Man, that was good times. A lot of good times in junior high. I had a lot of fun, learned a lot, forgot most of it, but I'll always be grateful to the teachers and Casey and Dale Bonner and Brian Wheeler and all my other friends, and still friends with nearly all them people today. I'm friends with some of them that I was not friends with, in junior high. It was a good school, really good teachers, good principals, and a lot of bats flying around the library for some reason, but pretty much the only part of that school that's still there is the gymnasium and the crappy band hall they built right before we started. The rest of it burned down, a decade ago or something. It's kind of sad for some of us, but I'm not the first school on that side of town to burn down, and hopefully we'll be the last, though. But anyway, thanks for listening. Casey, good on you. Take it easy. I will see y'all later.